So today in this class we will discuss about the interview questions on string and how to apply loop and control statement on string, and then we will move forward for the next data type list fundamentals. Now if you see, we are learning Python for AI/ML use cases, and these are the areas where we use data as a string type. So first is NLP processing. So NLP is natural language processing, right? We want to do pre-processing of any language. We have tokens embedding in place, and the logs which we are storing in file, when you load it, it will be captured in a string, right? Then you can apply logics, you can identify the bugs, errors in place. So there also we use string type data manipulation. When you are using a prompt engineering for your model, AI/ML model, then you need to store it into string type of data. There are some use cases where you need to do a cleaning on your data, right? So let's say you have a data where you need to do cleaning of special characters, maybe space, full stop, etc. Depends on the use case, right? Then we have model evaluation, text parsing, and we have data labeling pipelines. So all these things we will learn in detail when we will study the machine learning cases. And then let's go ahead with for loop. Let's consider this example. You have a string. So let's say this is a string. This is AI model, right? This is one string. Simple. Now I want to iterate each element one by one so that I can read the character and I can apply logic according to your requirement. Right. So there are some data cleaning rules we apply on data. We will have one use case. Let's say we will remove duplicates and we'll keep the unique characters out of the string. So this is one of the interview question also, where we have question like remove all duplicate characters from a string. So before moving to that problem, we need to understand how we can iterate this string character by character. So the way here is you have to apply loop. So we will use for loop here because this is very easy in Python, right? So you need to use for, then variable, any variable, let's say value. So this variable is user defined variable. For value in, so we have an operator in str1. So this is your string, then colon. So this is a syntax also. For is your keyword, value is user defined variable, in is operator, and this is your data. So here we have is str1 is your data. Now you need to use tab space. So in Python, if we want to define the block of for loop or if or functions, we will understand in future also. So to define the block, we need to use tab space. So this is tab space. So in other programming language, we have curly braces to define the block of that particular statement, right? Here we use tab space. So whatever we write after tab space, this will be considered your for block. So this will be considered your statement which will run based on the loop. So if I apply this loop into it, and if I say print value, then what the nature here for loop? It start iterating each element one by one, right? So let's write this program. Here we have str1. This is AI model, and I'll apply for value in str1, and then say I print value. If I run this program, so this is your iterator, right? So this iterator, right? So the value variable is your iterator. If you see, the output is each element we are iterating one by one, right? So how exactly it works? This iterator, value iterator, will start your loop. It start with your first character, and then it checks. Okay, so this in operator is fixed. Okay, in, then this is your string data. So it iterate each element, first loop, then second loop. So the loop execution will go the number of elements present in your string. So if I say length of str1, or if I ask the question how many times this loop runs, so it will run 17 times, because for each element it iterates one by one. So now let's solve this problem. We will remove duplicates from str1. So we'll have one result. Let's say result starts with blank string, right? And we'll have iteration on str2. And what we are doing in this block, for block, we are checking that if value not in result, then you add this value. If it is there, then do not add. So if you see here, inside for loop, we have another block for if. So this is the condition. In Python, you write condition like this. If is your keyword, then this is the condition. So condition, I'll explain more also. So here, if you read this program, this is very easy to understand. If your value not in result, so it check in this variable. If it is not present, then it concatenate it, right? It adds into it. Then if I print the result, so it creates the all unique characters out of your string. So to solve this problem, there are multiple ways. Okay, because we have studied till string, so I have considered all in string. Other ways are you can store in list or set, or there are multiple solutions also available. So we will discuss more about time complexity, then we will discuss multiple solutions, we'll compare their time complexity in future. Right now, let's go ahead with very easier way to solve it. So let's write one question for you. We will do it immediately. We'll have a timer also in place. So the question is, you need to count words in sentence, right? So for example, you have a sentence like this, and count for this sentence. So let's say the words are AI is one word, two, we, transforming third word, the fourth and fifth. So how many words are available in sentence? That is the question. You need to solve it. Let me start the timer. You have 2 minutes to solve. You got the question? In a sentence, how many words are there? You need to count that. So yeah, share a solution here. Okay, so these are the two solutions which we have proposed. Okay, so here are the two solutions. One is this one where we are using count and checking if we get any space, then we are incrementing a count. And the solution two is we are splitting it. Right. In solution one, if let's suppose my string is having multiple spaces, maybe here, like this. Then if I run this problem, see here, the outcome of solution 1 is 11. But the output from solution 2 is still 5. So we have to consider in that way the string can have different types of inputs, right? And our solution should be fitting into that. So if you are not passing any split as we have discussed, it will consider all the spaces. In fact, if you see, it will split on any white space character including slash n. Slash n is for new line, right? If you have tab space or any space, it discards that and create the list of your substring. Let's suppose if I have a new line character as well, like this, then also it's 5. But solution 1, if you see here, it increased to 12. And our problem says we have to identify number of words, right? So let's say if I have a space and then full stop and I say hi doll, or let's say a special character, maybe dollar, welcome to AI world, and if I run it now, so it is 12. The output of solution 1 is 19, right? So if I print this split, I'll just take it out and I say print this. So here are the words. But the problem, or let's say if you want to do a data cleaning, we have to ignore the special character also. So you can apply a logic on a special character as well. You can remove those. So there are multiple solutions. Just you need to think which can be the best solution. Lists are mutable dynamic arrays that serve as backbone for handling datasets. So we have large number of datasets. Whenever we load, unload datasets from that list. So mostly we use list because we can perform the operation on it. Then there are feature vectors and model outputs. So no need to worry about it. We will be learning in AIML section. Right? It can contain elements of different data types, including number, string, or even other list, tuple, dictionary it can have. So this is very flexible array having a different types of data. Lists are defined using a square bracket. So whenever you create a list, let's say my list, my list equals to square bracket. So this is a blank list. And if you want to define element within this list, then you can put elements, let's say 100, comma 3.14, maybe AI. This is again a list type of data. This is Boolean. Right? So it will have multiple types of data. Right? It can have heterogeneous, homogeneous, both types of data. That is, this is quite flexible in that case. If you see in other programming languages, we have array, and array always focus on similar type of data. Let's say if you are defining integer array or a string array, the data contains or the type of data it contains is same type which we have defined. But here list is very dynamic. Okay, and if you see, it says it can be modified after creation. So once you have created it, and let's say if you want to modify third element, my list. So here also we have indexing in place. I'll explain how indexing works. But as of now, 0, 1, first index and second index. So if I say at second index, I want to change it to, instead of AI, I want to change it to AIML. And if I print it, then the output is this. So we are able to change it, right? It allowing dynamic data manipulation. That is the nature called mutability also. Once you define the data and you are able to change within that. So that this is the nature of list. So the indexing or slicing works in same way. like a string, right? So let's say if I have a list. So how exactly positive indexing works in this case? First element exists on 0th index, first index, then this is second element, then third element is on second index, 3, 4, and so on. Depends on the size of array or the list, right? So if you traverse from left to right and considering positive indexing, then you start from 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. And if I say negative indexing, then it starts from -1, right? So your end element will be at -1, then -2, in same way like in the string, -3, -4, -5. So now let's try to access each element of this list. Okay, so let's create this data. I would say data variable, and it holds 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. Then if I print each element, or I want to access each element by indexing, so you can do that like 0th indexing, first index, then it will go to, let's say, print second index. So the way to access the data using index is same. You use a square bracket, pass index here, and then if you run it, you see you are able to access each element using index. And let's consider n equals to length of data. So in this case, what is the length of data? We have 5 elements. So it says 5, yes. Now I'll ask one question. Let's say I'll print data of index n. What will the output? It returns error. Why? Because the value of n is 5, and if we see the range of this indexing is from 0 to 4 in positive. If I say negative, it is from -5 to 1, -1, right? So that is why this is out of range when I'm passing 5 in positive indexing. That is a problem. But if I say -n, then it will show you the first element, right? Because -n is -5. And let's say I want to access last element using negative indexing. You can say data of -1 or print data of n-1. Make sense? Right? So where n is your length. So if you see, the output is -1 is your end element of this list, and n-1 is also end element because n becomes 4 here. Right? So we are able to access the element using positive indexing and negative indexing. So now the slicing also works in same way. Let's say this is your data, a list of AI, ML, DL, NLP, CV, RL, right? This is something, a string of the data hold in list. So now let's suppose I want to do slicing, or I want to get the sub list out of this list. So I'll say, let's say sub list equals to data, then square bracket. First is start index. So start index in this case, if I want to start from ML, the start index is 1, right? And up to, we have to fetch up to NLP, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I say I want to fetch up to NLP, then the index will equals 4, right? So it will extract sublist from index 1 to 3. So if I print it, print sublist, so the output is MLDL NLP. Right? And now let's say if I pass like this, sublist to, I start from second index, index second is DL, and if I do not pass the end index, then by default it will go till end. Right? The behavior is same like we have studied in string also. So it will go till the end. In fact, if you pass here, um, maybe let's say if I pass here 200, right? So it will not return error. The difference between indexing and slicing uh, is if you pass any index which is out of your range, then in indexing it returns an error. But in case of slicing, it go till the end of your list, and then it will fetch the sublist. So if you say there is no error at all. And there is a third variable also we pass is steps. So I'll create a bit larger data set. Let's say maybe my list equals to like this 100, 200, 30, 40, 50, 60, comma 70, 80, 90, 100, right? Like this. So this is a larger um, data set, right? And I want to fetch the sublist from, let's say, index from third. Right? So third index is your 0, 1, 2. Third index is 30. And I want to fetch starting from 30, and it should go to the next second element. Let's say the output should be 30, 50, 70, 90, like that. Right? So if you see here, what I am doing, starting my index from 3. Okay. So now we are passing start index as 3, right? And end index, let's say I'll pass maybe कितना index बनेगा यहाँ 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 15 तो 14 total 14 होगा. I'll say till 13, right? And if I run this, see the output. We started from third index, which is 40, and then we are saying step up or move to the second element because of this, right? 40, then 60, then next second element is 80, 100, 120, like that, right? So it goes in that way. So now let's suppose if I pass instead of 13 130, right? See the output, it consider the entire list starting from third index, right? And it takes care of the entire list after that. So it goes like this. Let's suppose if I want to print reverse, I want to do the reverse of this, then I say reverse list. Same way in string we also did. By default, default values I'll consider for a start index, default value for end index, and then I can say -1, then it will do the reverse of that. See the output, 150, 140, 130, and it goes up to 10. So if let's suppose I'll say -2 instead of -1, then how it will behave? It will start, or it will no start from 150, then each second element 130, 110, 90, and so on, right? Like this. Now let's understand the loop behavior, how for loop works here in same way. So there are two ways to use for loop whenever we have any ordered collection. Ordered collection is something which is having indexing zero, no, starting from zero and in order. So let's say a string is having indexing, yes, but that is not collection. That is a basic data type. Then list is having indexing, then it's an collection, and we have tuple also is ordered collection. So to apply for loop is easy here. Um, what you need to do is for your iterator, basically we represent with I, this is a variable. Then in same way in a string also we did in my list, right, my list, and here then colon, and if I print I, and do not forget this tab space, this is important, right, which will tell that this is the block of for. So let's say if I want to iterate each element of this list one by one, then I say for I in my list, right? Then printing it. Easy. Now let's take an example of I want to do sum of all the elements available in my list because all are integers. We can do sum. So let's say I'll take one variable sum 0. I'll initialize it and then apply a loop on it, right? Getting an each element one by one and then adding that element into my sum, right? So, and at the end, I'm printing sum, right? So how this iteration or loop works here, initially sum is 0, right? Let's understand it. I'll just explain in 2 minutes. So we just initialize some variable with 0. And then we start the iteration over the list. And if I say here sum plus equal to, so this is one of the way to write it, plus equal to, or you can write the same statement in this way also. Sum equal to previous sum plus I. This is both are same. If you write like this, then also is same. This is also same. So what it does, let's say first iteration, I. So what is the value of I? 100, right? Now, because sum is 0. So if I say sum equal to 0 plus 100, then it become 100, right? Now, because one iteration is over, there is nothing after this, then the value of I will become 200, correct? So in second iteration, what is the value of I is 200, but the value of sum is changed from 0 to 100 now. So I say 100 plus 200, which will become 300, right? Then again loop go to the third element, this element. So now because of this statement, the value of I is 300. The value of sum now becomes 300. If I do plus, then it becomes 600 and so on. So it will go until your end element of list and will do the sum of all the elements. And if I'm printing outside of this block, so if you see here, I'm printing it outside of for block. Right? So this is your final sum. If I say if I print inside it, print sum, then it will print you all the steps also. See here one by one. So it starts from, let me just create a checkpoint here. I'll just print like this. Print sum of all values and list, right? Let me run it again. So it start from here. So initially the value of sum is 10, right? Then we got 20 I, so sum become 30. Then we got another value 30, then 30 plus 30 60. So like that it adds on. The final output of this list is 1200. Okay, so now let's understand reference list. Reference for loop. So reference for loop is nothing like we have a function or a generator, we call it now. So there is one function, range function we have. Range. Why this range function we need? Because whenever we do iteration using for loop, we are not able to fetch the index. Let's say I want to access the element using index, that I cannot do in this, right? So now there is a way to do it. So there is a function called range. Okay. And this range function have three arguments. One is your start point. Let's say your start point is 0. You can pass maybe 1 or 3 or 5, whatever. So it returns a sequence. Then your end, right? And there is a step. So this range function, let's say for example, if I pass like this range, my start point is 5, my end point is maybe 20, right? And my step is 2. If I do like this, then what it returns? Let's see. So for I in range, starting point is 5 up to 20 and my steps are 2, right? And if I print I here, so this range function will generate the sequence starting from 5. Let me just put checkpoint. Let's say range function point 0. So range function or range of numbers. Okay. So if I run it, you see the output. It start a sequence from 5. Then because of this step, it moves forward, right? The second element. If let's say if I pass it 1, then it create the sequence starting from 5, 6, 7, 8 and up to 19 because I have passed 20 here. So it generates till n minus 1, right? Whatever the n is your end point and end variable, right? So this is something like same, looks like we have slicing, right? But here the benefit is we are able to get the sequence, right? And this sequence can help us to get the indexing. So if you see here, this indexing is something similar, right? If I say range start from 0 and go up to 4, then it can generate this index, right? So let's say if I say for I in range start from 0, go up to 4, and if I'm not passing the steps, then by default it take 1. So if you see here, the sequence generated is 0, 1, 2, 3. And if we can map these sequence with our index, right, it looks like same. So let's say I'll pass till 5 because I want the end element also. So if I say print, let's say I'll assign the variable also, data equals to 100, 200. This is your data, right? And if I say data of I, and if I run it, you see that because of range function, you are generating a sequence. First time, the value of I becomes 0. because it starts from 0, right? So it prints 0. Now what I'm doing here is data of 0th index. So it fetches the data or the value of this, right? First 0th index, then your loop completed here, then again it will iterate for the next iteration. So next iteration, because of range, is 1, right? And I access the value of index 1, so data of 1, then it becomes 200. So this is also another way where we can fetch the data based on the index in for loop, and I can shorten it also. Let's say by default start uh, start point is 0. Okay, so if you pass in this way as well, it works in same manner. See here, right? And if you want to make it dynamic, then because we don't know what is the length of uh, data, so I say n, right? So n is your length of data, and we can pass like this. So if we are writing in this way or this way or this way, all three are same. The difference is here it considered default 0 and 5 is fixed number we have put. So let's say if we increase the size of data, then it will iterate up to 4th index, right? But in this case, if I change my data size, let's say I'll add more data to it. So how you can add more data? There is one function, data dot append. Let's say I'll add 600. So if I iterate it now, and let me just do the breakpoints. Let's say print maybe solution 1, right? Then this is another way, right? Solution 2, and this is another way. But the difference here is in solution 1, sorry, I'll make it 3. Right. So in solution 1, we are accessing the data up to 500. 600 is not accessed, right? So if you see, if I print data here after the append, so what append does? It creates another data 600 in that list and append to it. If you see, your list look like this. It was earlier, it was 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. Now we have added one more element to it. So now it becomes this one, right? But the problem in solution 1, I'm putting fixed number. So it stopped for the 4th index, right? So it is something like this. So let's say I have added a data to here, right? Maybe here 600, but I'm trying to access up to this, right? 0 to 4. This is 5th index, right? So now this is one problem, and we are not sure what should be the value here, right? Then this is the solution for you. So you can pass the length of data. Now if you see in solution 3, we are able to access the data, whatever the length of data is. Maybe let's say if I add more data to it, data dot append 700, that also will be considered because we are dynamically setting the value. Okay, so in next class we will discuss about the predefined functions of list, where we will talk about extend and concatenation also. Like there are a lot of predefined functions, we have few operations, and we will discuss more about interview questions uh, for particular to belongs to list topic.